All right. Welcome back. This is the first episode of Season 2. Call it Season 2 of the Texas Cornhole Show. My name is Jonathan Zarzinski. This is Grand Up Church, and we have a special guest that I think is going to be visiting quite a bit this season, Mr. Baron Hodo. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's great to be here. Thanks for the invite.
Be-ho.
Yeah, we brought him on for the voice.
The low voice, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah, you sound good. Yeah, for all the people that listen to the show and don't watch it, right? That's what you're here for.
That's right. That's right.
Soothing.
Yeah, the occasional witty comment. All right, so I think this episode we're going to talk about what's happened since we've been gone.
Okay.
Right? And we could start with TCL and Ryder Cup. TCL season's underway, and they did something new this season, which was kick it off with Ryder Cup. For those that don't know, it's a team event, 8 players on a team, and play a bunch of different kinds of cornhole and figure out who the best team is, right?
Right.
What did you think of the event? What did you think about starting off the season with Ryder Cup?
So it was fun. I mean, I had fun. Ryder Cup is still Ryder Cup. The team environment, getting to watch all your guys, get some matching jerseys going, just paying attention to the bracket, having to pay attention to everybody, not just yourself. I mean, it's a lot of fun, but it's chaotic, ain't it?
Well, yeah. Yeah, it's chaotic. It's difficult. I never really understood Ryder Cup. I guess I got a better taste of it this time. The team event. I had a chance to play with a really good team that was top heavy, right? I had Sammy and Justin on the same team. And it was just top heavy. I think that was like my one chance to win a Ryder Cup, and I didn't come through. But the results are Northeast Texas won it, the open division. Kevin Meza put together a team that was pretty baller. Like a doubles, for example. They didn't get first because that was Justin and Sammy, but they did get second and third.
So it's definitely, for that team, I think Levi Haddock and Brennan Bennett are the ones that made the difference on that team.
You think so? It was deep. Like, all the players were good.
Yeah. So I think those were the two guys, especially in doubles. They made a huge run.
Yeah.
So Ty and Chase did what they were supposed to do. But I think it was Brennan and Levi that shocked some people.
Yeah.
A lot of really exciting games. It was just fun to watch. Just that competitive environment that Ryder Cup brings, I think, just creates a lot different excitement than even a SIG does.
Yeah, and it's different to have people cheering for you, right? Your team. Yeah. I'm not used to that, right?
Right.
So when your team is rooting for you and your team is cheering for you, that's a little bit of a different experience,
right?
Know? And also going out and cheering for other people. Like, I was watching games I would not have normally have watched just because I wanted my team to win.
Right.
You know. So it brings on a new, I guess, spectator aspect to the game.
Yes, and it's Ryder Cup's still a ton of fun, and it's just I don't think people understand it the way they used to. I think it's the structure of Ryder Cup needs to change a little bit to get people on the same page as far as the environment goes.
Like what? How?
Because right now, their TCL really is trying to push this. It's Ryder Cup is my backyard versus your backyard, but I think they're behind the times with, hey, everyone that's literally within 20 miles of me, 30 miles of me, isn't necessarily the only people I play cornhole with or I'm friends with. There's people outside of that area I would rather be on a team with, stacking a team or not. Those are my guys and who I would want to play with. I think that's where they have to evolve. It needs to stop being so constricted border-wise.
And I think it created a lot of confusion in the beginning. Just the geographical areas that they aligned and the way they tried to align it, I think created a lot of confusion. So
yeah, well, they dropped it like weeks before the event.
Right.
So people were scrambling and didn't really know how to.
Right. It felt like they forced Ryder Cup to happen right then because they didn't know when else to do it. I know they had the original date planned with Ryder Cup before that, and they decided not to do it because I think it's the Dallas Convention Center. There's going to be a huge place that was trying to charge like $10 a beer. And just stuff like that. When he was like, TCL was like, we're not going to send all these people here, which is we already understand it's an expensive thing to do, cornhole. But then to make them go up there and pay Cowboys game prices for stuff, that would have been tough.
Yeah, I don't think anybody would have liked that. Well, so I guess next year, are they going to stick with the same geographic limitations and keep that the same?
I think it's up in the air right now. I think that I think it's a lot of work to do it the geographical way, even though they are making it easier now. I just don't think that it's not what the players want. So stop trying to fit that event. Stop trying to force it upon them.
What do you think they want? Is it just to all stay?
I think it just needs to be hey, these are the tier rankings you're allowed to have on the team. There's your team.
So 86 geographic limitations.
Yeah, if you want to do the geographic limitations, maybe just stick that for social. But competitive, advanced, especially open, it can't be that.
But then aren't we just going to see super stacked teams?
Not if you do the tier rankings.
Okay, so you could create any team you want, but like 1 pro, 1 elite, 4 A's, or however you want to do it.
However you want to do it tier ranking wise.
So then the competitive environment would be which players you were gaining on your team, right? So you'd be.
You're still trying to get the best team you can get, but it's it's going to be so even that you're not. I don't think it's just going to be straight stacked teams. And with the way Ryder Cup is and works, just because you have the best team on paper doesn't mean you win.
Well, I guess to argue with you about this, so that's just going to turn into, I think, a bad company contest, right? And when I played in the last Ryder Cup, I'm playing with Sammy and Justin. I never would have played, maybe Sammy, but I never would have played with Justin in a tournament because he plays for Olympus, or he represents Olympus. So, to make it geographic, you kind of eliminate the, putting together the best bad company team, which is, I think, was what you're going to have if you get rid of the geographic limitation.
Well, I think you would see a lot more entertainment out of that, and just the open division is what you're talking about too.
Yeah.
And you would see a lot more entertainment than what's currently going on. Right now, who gives a damn if Dallas does well? Who cares if Northeast Texas did well? It doesn't say anything more about their region, doesn't say anything more about their players. It's just, yay, I won Ryder Cup.
I don't know if you're right, man, because I did kind of grow up in TCL playing in Dallas. That's who I was playing with. So, like, Sammy and Matt, like, I saw those guys all the time, right, when I first started out. So that kind of makes sense. And then all those Northeast Texas guys, they were all playing together, right, up in Tin Cup.
Right, except for a couple people on their team that weren't even, Ryland Claver wasn't even close to that area. Didn't play in any of their events. So there's holes in it. I mean, do you think Sammy cared at all whose team he was on?
I don't know.
For Ryder Cup? No, he didn't.
He did used to play out in Dallas. I remember that.
Yeah,
when I first started.
but he doesn't. It's just, it's not something that we care about. As when I say we, as in the younger generation in general.
All right, well, I don't think Chad's going to give up the backyard stuff.
I think you'd be shocked.
Oh, yeah? Is he thinking about it already?
Ryder Cup's hard. It's hard to put together Ryder Cup, and people have no idea and no appreciation for how hard it is to set up an event like that.
Well, as somebody who overcomplicates things, I overcomplicate things. I recognize when other people overcomplicate things, and I thought Ryder Cup was overcomplicated.
It is. It's super overcomplicated.
And they dropped all those complications right before the event.
There was definitely a lot of scrambling going on right before the event, which, again, caused all the confusion that we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
And everyone has an opinion, right? If you look on social media, everyone's going to have an opinion on the right way to do it and the wrong way to do it. But I think whatever creates the most excitement and most competitive environment is obviously the direction it should go.
Yeah. And what direction do you think that is?
Well, obviously being a part of a bag manufacturer, then I kind of like that idea a little bit.
And I don't think that's where it would go anyways.
No.
I know what you're saying, but I think it would take a couple of years for it to even get there. Go ahead.
Yeah, I agree. I think people would try to turn it into that. It's probably, where my mindset goes to. But eventually, I think that it would ease up from that and be more of a. I think people want to play with their friends, right? People that they play with a lot, people that they trust, people that they like hanging out with. I think that's ultimately what people want to do.
It might be a good way to bring in sponsors, right? Because sponsors would sponsor a team. Right?
Exactly.
Be kind of interesting. All wear the jerseys with like Clay Cooley Dodge or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
I like that idea.
That's not a bad idea. We'll see how it goes. Any other thoughts on Ryder Cup? Oh yeah, just to go through the rankings, it was Kevin Meza put together the Northeast Texas team, won it all. Good for him. Their names will be on the trophy forever. Dallas, Sammy Soto put that team together. I was on that team, came up short. Although I did make tier 1 with doubles, but that was my one shot of winning a Ryder Cup, and I came up short. Wish I would have practiced. And then third place, Lone Star, and I think Sharky ran that crew. But good for them. That was, I think, the surprise of the Ryder Cup. No offense to those guys, but I just didn't expect them to get third. I was kind of looking at your team.
Close. We got close. We had the best jerseys in the building. That's all that matters.
All right. So then the other thing that we could talk about, I don't even remember. I'm trying to remember what they look like. Okay. Looking back, other thing that we haven't covered until we can cover today is how TCL has introduced new tiers, right? I think the new introduction of the elite class, which kind of took care of guys like you and Sammy before he was a pro, where you're as good as a pro, but you aren't treated like one, right? So I think they handled that. And then we have a new system of determining what your rank is. Do you want to talk about that?
So the new system is straight data driven, where in previous years for TCL it was all eye test. It was all hey, this regional director sees this player winning all these events or throwing this good. Hey, he needs to be bumped up to the next tier, whatever TCL classifies that tier. And it was a very bad system it's just because you have so many humans involved. You have regional directors not bumping up people. But every regional director not bumping up people because Ryder Cup's around the corner, and they want to try to put the best teams together.
Or people complain, right? I don't want to be an A player because I'm gonna.
Right. And then the regional director has to be the bad guy. Well, now the regional director is no longer the bad guy. Scorholio has given us enough data to be able to assign tier rankings just based off of literally what's going in the hole, what's happening. It's not just PPR anymore. It's DPR. It's podium percentage. It's your four-bagger percentage. They take all these things into consideration. So the more data they get, the more closely rated tier ranking should be. And what they're doing is, I think the top 4% of players are elite players, and then it's kind of just goes down from there.
It's a statistics problem.
Right.
I forgot the terms, but they're using hardcore statistics math to determine what your rankings are, which I think makes a lot of sense. I think the one issue that people are facing right now is that it's moving a lot because they don't have all the data, so there's a lot of waves going on, and people on the edge are getting bumped up, getting bumped down, right?
So initially they talked about every 2 weeks, doing the bumps. Now it's looking like every month because directors wanted to be able to keep track of it a little bit easier. So once every month they're going to do the bumps, and I'm sure they're going to adjust the system right now a little bit too. Personally, what I don't like about the system at the moment is that, you have a couple people getting to that elite status or A status that are good players or very good players, but, they're in weaker regions where they're podiuming more often, they're winning games more often, and then they come to a signature series and they're just not ready for that. So to be an elite player and not be able to play with someone else that's just as good as you are because you're an elite, you're at a disadvantage because what if you're not ready for the moment yourself? Because now you are going to have to go throw against Justin Burton Jr. and his partner, his partner's supposed to be on the same level your partner is, but you're not on Justin's level.
Yeah, so that's going to happen anyway, right?
It's pretty bad right now in the elite division and and even the A players. It needs to be tweaked some. The system definitely needs to be tweaked.
So how do you look at that? How do you look at tweaking that or what?
I think they gotta adjust how you're changing the weights of things, where the podium finishes aren't weighed so much into the determining what your tier ranking is, or your PPR isn't what totally weighs into what your tier ranking is. You just lower those percents and make other things worth a little bit more. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, I think if my understanding is correctly, A and elite are the same, but elite are special circumstances, like you try to be a pro. Or you used to be a pro. Am I right about that?
So on the back end, TCL has numbers assigned to every single player for after that player's numbers are thrown to a system, the system spits back out a number, and that's assigned to the player. That's how good you are.
Okay.
Let's just say, for example, 10's the best, 1's the worst. Well, elite players are 9 and above.
Got it. I thought it was like placing or former pros or...
No, so it's that too. It's that if you went to Worlds and you tried to qualify and you got past the first wave of qualification, you're considered an elite player.
Okay.
You put yourself in that boat, not TCL, because you're saying that you think you're good enough to be a pro player.
And finishes at SIGs.
And finishes at SIGs. That goes to being an elite player. And then also, again, how good are you in your region?
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people are looking at just straight PPR across the board when they're trying to look at the tier rankings, right? Kind of like it was before. And now with these additional metrics that are being brought forth by Scorholio, and people not seeing the behind the scenes that TCL is seeing, is creating an environment where if you're just looking at PPR, you don't understand it. You don't understand why someone would be an A player when maybe their PPR rankings aren't what they're used to seeing.
And I blame ACL for that. I blame ACL for trying to stick PPR as this is how good a player is because of PPR. Cornhole is a game about scoring points. It's not a game about how many bags you're putting in the hole. So you can't just look at PPR. I have a low PPR compared to a lot of people, but I win a lot more games than a lot of people too. It's just you gotta use more than PPR in the long run.
Yeah, and I mean, look, I like the new system. I think maybe they could have just used SPR instead of come up with their own SPR. But I think it's great that they're using like data to actually determine what the rankings are. And It's definitely good. And I think another thing that's happened is they're only using data from the TCL events, is my understanding. They're because they finally did release leagues, and now you can get a person's stats from like TCL Signature Series events, for example. Like I probably play a full half PPR lower in TCL Signature Series events because the big crowd and the pressure really gets to me.
They're
right?
using both.
They're using both?
I think your non-TCL events is used to a lesser degree, but if you don't have much TCL events in the system, but if you're averaging a 7.5 in TCL and you've only played 2 events, but we look over and you've played 100 events in Scoreholio, and you're throwing an 8.5, your tier ranking is going to go off that 8.5 and whatever metrics come with that.
Okay.
And I think it's important that they release some type of communication kind of outlining exactly what they're looking at, because I think it's all over the board in terms of people are trying to determine what that is. And
well, it's pretty close to SPR. Like when I look at their rankings that they have, because they do publish the points that you get, your like point value when they publish their rankings, and you can see there's a direct correlation. Well, I say direct. There's a correlation with SPR and whatever they're doing.
Gotcha.
Like I think TCL has a tendency to overcomplicate things like I do. And I think this one, I mean, I know it's fun to dig into numbers and create a metric, but SPR or Scoreholio's already done that. Just use it. But we'll get to SPR when I start picking my Sig 1 picks.
I think what they have set up right now is so that other leagues that are kind of replicating TCL's format, every single league can adjust what they consider an A, B, C, or D, and they can change the metrics on their end.
Yeah.
Texas blocks a lot.
Yeah. Block and flop. A lot of it.
Yes.
All right, cool, man. Well, we could talk about what's happened between now and our last episode in the ACL. Or do you have anything else to talk about with TCL?
No, I'm good.
No, I'm good. Let's
Cool.
move on.
All right, ACL. So we're going in order of what happened most recently. The Throwdown, which I've never been to. Have you ever been to the Throwdown?
Nope. I was supposed to go 1 year, and that's when COVID happened, and it all got shut down and moved.
I decided I wasn't going to go, and then I was kind of seeing some of it on the internet, and I'm like, man, I kind of wish I was there. Looks nice.
It looks kind of cool.
Yeah, I would have rather have been there a couple years ago, though, before ACL got super involved.
Yeah. Is it? Why?
Just more of it's cornhole backyard fun at the beach rather than corporate ACL taking control.
Yeah, I could understand that. Well, some of the Texas players did really well. The Pro Invitational, which I think was, the ACL put together some teams, and it was a mixed, so boy-girl. And Caleb Batson and Kimberly Glass, took it down. They got first place. They had a pretty big paycheck, too. I didn't write it down, but they won some decent cash on that one. I want to say it was $20K.
Yeah, they pay out good over there.
Yeah, that was awesome. And then
Caleb's been on a tear, too. He's just been crazy lately.
yeah, I would like to see him come play in some TCL matches, but I guess that's not going to happen.
I think the last time he played, he won a singles event. It was signature series or state, but the last event he was at, he tore it up.
He did. Yeah, he would do it again. Okay, when I first looked at that Pro Invitational, Cheyenne Bubenheim and Jamie Graham were a couple, right? Mm-hmm. And I thought they're getting first, and who's going to get second? Because Cheyenne seems to be head and shoulders above all the other women. But no, they got fifth place. Kind of interesting. I don't know, maybe outside?
It's different because you're playing outside. You're playing with the Throwdown bags, which they've been selling them and breaking them. You can break. It used to be you show up and the bags they have there is what you throw. Then they said the bag manufacturers can sell the bags with their stamp on it, and that's kind of how it's gone. So it might have been a bag problem too, because Jamie's been throwing fire bags.
Yeah.
For the last, 2 years, 3 years?
Yeah, but he throws kind of a fast bag. She throws a fast bag. So I'm thinking maybe it was a fast bag in the wind got to him.
Yeah, I mean, you are on the beach. It's different.
Yeah. They also had a big doubles event out there, and I scanned the list for some Texas guys. Justin and Logan got fifth, and Gavin, and we're going to just go ahead and adopt Fisher Hamilton. They also got fifth. So T-fifth for those guys. And then just below them at ninth was AJ Sims and Braden Wilson. And they're going to be partners moving forward. Let's talk about that for just a minute since we're on ACL. So on Facebook, it's all over the place. Who's the next partner, right? Everybody's doing these like hype videos. Who's it going to be? You got to guess who my next partner is. And I guess that's okay. But I thought it's pretty cool that Justin and Logan and Gavin and Fisher, they stuck with their guys. Like, our Texas guys are kind of loyal. I thought that was pretty cool. They're also rookies, and they had a great rookie season, so why, fix something that's not broken, right?
Right.
But that's pretty cool to see them stay together. But then AJ picked up a new partner with this Braden Wilson kid, who I don't know much about, but I know is good.
He's really good. Not trying to shoot strays, but I think it's an upgrade from his past partner.
Well, they threw different kinds of bags. I watched the Buffalo Boards reveal video or whatever, and that's what they mentioned, that Jamie likes to throw a faster bag.
Right, and AJ has the ability to play a dirtier game, slower bag. He has a hard throw.
Yeah.
So lefty, hard throw. So I think that's going to be a pretty good team. We'll just see how. I haven't seen AJ play with kids very often, so we'll see how AJ can handle the kid part.
Yeah.
Kind of having to be big brother on the court too,
I got a chance to talk to AJ recently. We both did.
Yeah, we both did.
Yeah, we should talk about that for a minute. So Baron and I went to Worlds, and it was kind of awesome. I didn't know what to expect. It was a last-minute decision just to head down there. I stayed there for a night. Got to play a pickup game or whatever, a sit and go,
sit and go,
Check
yeah.
that off the box. We watched a CBS Sports / ESPN broadcast.
We did.
Watched the team broadcast, which is
Got
kind
on
of
air.
awesome. We were on air.
That's right.
Big
That's
D
right.
was on air. Shout out to our sponsor, Big D Cornhole. What else did we do that was awesome?
We did.
Talked to AJ Sims for like an hour.
We did. We had a long conversation with AJ.
AJ's
And
awesome.
He had a lot of perspective on TCL and ACL that he shared with us, and I thought it was a great conversation for sure.
Well, you see him, ever since I've known that dude, he's been a pretty down-to-earth guy. I met him a long time ago when I first started playing, and he was pretty chill, and then just that conversation was really nice. Yeah. So the big brother role, I think, seems like he's cut out for it. He has
actually
kids.
discussed that. Remember in our conversation with AJ, he talked about just how he takes pride in mentorship and talking with younger players. In fact, he even mentioned you, that when you first started, that y'all talked a lot. And so, I thought it was an interesting conversation.
Yeah, good dude. If you're listening, AJ, what's up? We are going to have you as a guest on the show if you're still willing to do that. Once I get everything set up, it's going to happen. All right, that's all I have for the Throwdown Pro Invitational. Oh, yeah, we're talking about Worlds. So the number one doubles team at Worlds, Eddie and Caleb, right?
Yeah.
They took it down. Does that mean they're like the world champs?
World champs.
What does that mean?
No, it means you're world champ. Yeah, you won Worlds. World champ.
Yeah, and they're staying together, right?
Have to.
I haven't seen anything about it.
Because of what's there to talk about. They're staying together.
Yeah, right, exactly. What's there to talk about?
It was pretty impressive, to watch that.
They got great
pretty
team
impressive.
chemistry. Just great. So
Yeah.
They've been playing for, I think, 3 seasons now together.
And they just won Worlds. Why would you ever break that up?
Why would you switch? Yeah.
Well, we could talk. They're not from Texas, but Jay Rubin and Jordan. Why am I blanking on his name? Jay Rubin's partner.
Jordan Powers.
Jordan. Yeah, Powers. Okay. So I guess they're breaking up, or they're not together anymore, and they just had an incredible season. But Jay Rubin's talking about quitting and mentioned who's his next partner going to be. He seemed to indicate that he's not going to be playing with Jordan anymore. But that's just a team that had great success, and I don't understand why they would ever break up.
There's a lot. There's some partnerships that came out recently that are powerhouses, like Tony Smith and Mark Richards.
Yeah, they've got to be
powerhouses.
Yeah.
And that's going to start happening a little bit more and more.
Right.
I think Jay has kind of been 1 foot out the door for a little bit now. Not saying that it's just, I feel like he takes it a little less seriously than he did maybe a year ago. So, but him and Jordan make a good team. They like to talk to each other.
And
right?
they win big events. They won the Pro Shootout. Big money event.
So I don't know. Maybe I don't know. They're looking for something different.
So, Grant, what's your perspective when you obviously you've been to the top of the mountain before as well, right? Is there something to run it back, or is there also something to let's change it up a little bit and see if we can accomplish it with someone else?
I think with cornhole and there being so many great players out there and so easy to switch partners, it's just, man, if we don't feel like this is it, why not try something different? Worst case scenario, we just come back a season later, play together. And in the ACL rules, they want you to play with one partner, but you can play with multiple. And so if you play 1 or 2 events with somebody else and you realize, hey, man, this just isn't it, you can switch back.
Yeah.
So I don't think partnerships are taken that seriously in ACL, especially with bag sponsors wanting to pull guys away and pair them up themselves. It's just not taken that seriously.
Well, I haven't seen anything about Eddie and Caleb, so it makes me wonder if they're sticking together and if they're staying with BG.
They're BG Cornhole, and they are partnered up.
I would bet that you're right.
I would
Yeah. Okay, second place at Worlds, Fisher and our adopted Gavin. Sorry.
No.
Gavin Cano
Gavin.
and Fisher Hamilton, yeah.
Yes.
Sorry, Fisher's the adopted one. My bad. And then tied for fifth was Justin and Logan, man. So the Texas doubles teams are doing pretty great.
Yes.
Okay, and then before that, there was a pro shootout number 8 where JBJ and Logan won it, and Caleb and Eddie got second. So these two Texas teams are just steamrolling towards the end of the ACL season. So looking forward to the upcoming season. These two are going to be great. And then we've got to deal with JBJ and Logan in TCL, which, I guess that's cool. But I kind of wish Caleb and Eddie would show up and play, or AJ and Braden would show up and play, right? But I guess that's not going to happen because you have to register as a pro before the season starts. That's my understanding. And
the pro fee, what it is, you're paying for singles and doubles for the entire season when it comes to signature series and state.
Yeah.
So it's not an extra charge. It's upfront. They're making you commit to playing in TCL if you're going to play, instead of cherry picking.
Do you see more of the ACL pros coming over to TCL in the future, or do you think?
I can see that happening over time. Getting a couple more of them over there. We just, I think TCL has to come out with a division for the pros, and then it's the people that want to go compete in that division. But they're not going to let the pros just compete in our open division.
Right.
Yeah, I thought more would come too, and then when I look at the registration, I don't see any of these guys registered.
Yeah, I think Shreveport, as often as we've been in Shreveport, I think we're burned out on it. I think it needs to be a once a year type of deal, not twice a year, and then twice a year, then followed up with the first one the following season. That's only 3 months away or whatever.
Yeah, a little too much.
I think it's too much. Shreveport's a good, hey, let's go once a year, but more than that, it's too much.
All right, well, we got a couple more minutes before this episode's over, and we're talking about ACL. I do want to bring up some of the new rules that ACL has put in place. First, they've changed the bag rules. So, first of all, leagues don't ever measure bags. If you ever go and say, hey, how do I contest this guy's illegal bags? No league does it. ACO, ACL, TCL, just illegal bags are everywhere. But ACL switched their rule. And they have to. I've made them to try to meet the. I've learned what it takes to make a legal bag in ACL, and it's a big pointy cornered bag. It feels like an old Game Changer. It's a big old square, and that's what it takes to make this 7.5 inch from point to point. So we're going to see if bag companies actually make bags that are legal, because they feel different. They feel like a big Ultra bag. Have you felt the new Ultra bags? And recently, I saw Ultra make a post. The printable template that you can test a bag to see if it's legal or not. And I think that's Mark Pryor calling out all the other bag companies saying, you guys are making illegal bags. Players need to know how to test to see if they are legal or not. And we'll see what happens. So
do you foresee that being before a match, or how do you
You're supposed to
foresee
call
that?
it out before a match. I checked both rules in TCL and ACL, and you have to call it out before the match begins.
But do you think someone like a director or something at the event would actually come?
Actually have it printed out with a scale?
Yes.
Maybe. I mean, I'll tell you, a lot of those
interesting.
ACL bags are illegal.
What's unfortunate about it is that the players are going to get punished because of the bags they have.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be the bag manufacturers that get punished. Unless
Right.
they're going and refunding and sending out new sets of bags. It's going to be a slippery slope as soon as the bag game kind of gets called out.
All right, and then we're not going to be able to talk about it enough because we're almost out of time, but the new rule that lets you have 4 different kinds of bags in your
Chad was talking about doing that 3 years ago.
Dude, talk about overcomplicating things. First of all, they can't even figure out if bags are legal to
As it
begin
is.
with. Okay, now we're going to have 4 different bags in the same set. Like, I think it's interesting. I want more of that. I think it's fun, right? But I don't know if
Overcomplicating.
it's overcomplicating it, right? I'm going to have my big, huge patch for my blocker. And then I'm going to have my tiny little baby patches to clean them up. I mean, it's pretty crazy. Or my heavy bag, and I'm going to follow it up with my light bags.
Vice versa, right?
You would throw a light bag first and then follow up with a heavy?
Because the heavy bag would get through it,
What, don't you want to put a big old heavy blocker up there?
then try to push through it with the light bag?
Airmails, baby.
That's not what you just said. We're arguing 2 different things now.
Yeah, I guess that was a red herring. All right, well, this is the Texas Cornhole Show. Thanks for listening. We're going to be recording another episode right after this, and they're probably going to drop at the same time, so tune in for the next one. Thanks for listening. Oh, wait, didn't we have a sign-off?
Remember, it's just a game.